Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's November 16th, I believe. What is today? Yeah, or I'm sorry, 18th, November 18th. Um, so we'll get on to our chart lesson today. As you can see, we do have two measured legs down on our daily chart now, and they're almost perfect measured moves. I mean, I would call that pretty close. And you can see we closed off of that back inside this band. So we completed everything we need. We got the trend channel down. We got the closeout side new low, and we're bouncing. We've made a measured move. We're bouncing out off of the low of the envelope bands. So we could rally now and go back for this retest of this high. So even if we're not even if we're not done to the downside yet, I still believe there'll be one more big push to a new high here before this thing will sell off. And we could reestablish a new contract and just keep going. But it does at least look like the current trend is playing out. We're getting our first few clues that it maybe is coming to an end. First of all, we got our correction, which is a convincing close outside this trend line. We had the original trend down. We had a close outside. Notice how Skip gapped over that trend line. When you see that, pay attention to it. And then we ran down and made a new low. And now we appear to be trying to rally. Now we could still continue down a little bit. This thing could go lower. But the fact that we've made a measured move and we're starting to rally leads me to believe that we could rally to a new high now. And once we do that, that could be the beginning of the end for this trend. Or we could work into some kind of new channel. We'll just have to see. But my guess is uh, I'm really leaning towards a rally soon because we're definitely oversold. The market's very bearish. All the news is negative. And look, when nobody wants the market, that's when you need to think about buying. And when everybody's buying, that's when you need to think about selling. If you're looking at this at longer term, we're day traders, so it's not that big a deal. If it's rallying today, we're gonna go try to go long and join the rally. If it's selling off, we're gonna try to get in and sell. And if it's mixed or flat, we're gonna try to buy the support or sell the resistance of the range. And that's simple as that's what we do on as day traders. We just look at this for a slightly bigger picture to give us an idea where we're going longer term. And I do believe we're going to see a rally soon. I'm not ready to say it's coming now, but we could be because we're definitely in overbought territory. We've definitely had two measured legs down. We are bouncing at a minimum at least now. Uh, we've had a break in a new low of this channel as the first convincing close outside the bigger two-tiered up channel. So all we need now is a rally to a new high, and then we can see where we go from there. So there it is. You can see this is today's candle. It's after 5, so the new candle is open. But let's go look at this. Bearish day, we definitely closed off the lows. We definitely rallied some after a big measured move down. But let's go take a look at it, and we'll go through the trades. It's a lot of, there's a lot of price action, a lot of volume. So good many trades as well. So let's go look at it and try to get through it. Okay, here it is. You can see it. We started out in this range and then we broke lower, and you would expect us to, we were finding a lot of support here, but you got to be real careful buying this thing until we make that measured move. And you can see we actually went a little further than that and then rallied like crazy, got back in the range, tried to go lower one more time, and then rallied like crazy again. And notice the two legs up. We went a little higher than that, but I believe prices were trying to fill this gap. When we were trading down here early this morning, this seemed like not even a possibility of reaching this target. And you can see we came pretty dang close. We didn't quite fill it, but we came close. And so there's no doubt in my mind that's what the target likely was. This was where all the strong resistance was, and we just couldn't get up there. Every time we'd try to rally, it'd meet hard selling and we'd sell off again. And we did close off the highs, but we definitely closed um, off the lows. So uh, almost kind of a neutral day today. Actually, I'd say we closed down because we opened up here. But if you look at just the daily price action, it's kind of a neutral day. Um, we spent most of the day in this range and closed in this range. So let's zoom in. We'll go through the trades and we'll try to wrap it up here. Okay, 7 o'clock came just as we're bottoming out here. Now, notice we did get a close outside. We got a couple of swings to a new low. We're not back down to the lows, but we were way away from the MA. Maybe you buy that. I marked it green, but I'd want to wait on a higher low, and we just didn't get one there. And then here we're just stuck in this tight congestion. I don't really see anything I like in there. Um, there is a lower high right here, but we've had a coming up, we were getting resistance at the midline, and coming down, we were again. So I was hesitant to go short there. I think you have to skip over that. And then we end up pushing down to another new low and then rallying. Um, I don't see any entries on any of them. Then we're rallying back down. Now here we do at least get a close outside and a new low. Now there is a second entry long there, but it looks a little sideways and congested. I didn't draw it, but it's there. You can see that. So I'm hesitant to go long right there. But it runs up, close outside, new high, and you do get a second entry short right there with a big bearish bar. I like going short there. There's a lower high here. Not a good enough signal bar. Move too far as well. And we actually get a couple of legs down, then we rally. Now, I didn't mark this one either. Again, it looks a little congested right there under the EMA. So, but you do run up and get a second entry short here. And we've had multiple resistance right in there. I think you got to count that as a second entry. I drew a trend line on this, but I still wouldn't be afraid to go short there because it's clearly two legs up, double top, and a lower double top than the previous double top. So I liked it, and I marked it. And then you get a second entry short here, but the signal bar is a little neutral. Again, it's a little sideways. It's not really clearly two legs up. It almost looks sideways with a little failed breakout to me. Then we drop on down and we get another. We're moving up, close outside, new high. Now, I didn't mark this. We're so close to the lows of the range here. And, you don't know that you hadn't bottomed out here. So, I mean, you could argue for that to be green maybe, but I wasn't crazy about it. Of course, we do break out. We get a trend back, close outside, tries to make a new high and finds resistance right there. And a lower high. I like taking that second entry as long as you got room to get out before here. That's the key to it. You're not really looking to catch a big move down. You're just looking to get a scalp because you're clearly just confirmed that trend line right here and then reconfirmed it again here. And you got a second entry. So I just think you almost have to take that. I usually like to see a triple test of the lows of a range like that, but I think this is good enough. You get another second entry here, but not a good enough signal bar, too congested. This is the first entry, and these are all first entries all the way down. And then we reverse finally. Too congested down here. You're working up, close outside, move to a new high, and then you just keep chopping sideways. And you end up with two legs up to a new high, and it turns down, but there's no setup there. Of course, you're working down, close outside, new low. And so this breaks lower first and then turns up. Breaks lower, turns up. I like trading that on the engulfing bar. You could go along one tick above that, or you could wait for that to close. Either one. It's a second entry. This downtrend's played out in a second entry long. Runs up, then we just run right back down. I don't see any entries there. Close outside and a new low all in one. I'd wait on a higher low here, which comes here. These two, not a good enough setup. It turns out to be a great move up, but I just don't see anything there you can take. And then, of course, we get a close outside, two legs to a new high, and a second entry short there. Now you've at least got a triple test here. I like going short on that. just to ride it back to the EMA at a very minimum. Um, you, there is some support here, but you don't really know this is a range yet. It's a little early. You can't go long still in that downtrend channel. There is a higher low, but not a good enough setup. Short, not a good enough setup. But now notice what's happening. You're working down, close outside, move to a new low, and then a break above that bar is a second entry long, and you got an easy double bottom and possible triple test. I like going long on that. It does get hung up at the midline once again, but you got plenty of room to be out by then. Then you get a little failed breakout, no setup there, comes back. This one's tempting up here, but you're still in that trend line. Then you get the close outside, but no new high yet. I'm just wary of going short right there. It turns out it works, and it would have been a great move, but I just don't think you can enter there yet. But it runs down, close outside, move to a new low, and a nice move up here. You really need a higher lows, but maybe you go long there. You mark it green. I'll give it a green, way away from the EMA. But a few minutes later, you get the higher low on the green. I'm sorry, on a blue one. That's a better place to enter. It's only good for a scalp. It comes back. You get another test of this support, but you can't go long right there. Of course, it breaks out the top. Maybe you go short there, but again, you're better off to wait on a lower high and you don't get one. Now you do come back down here and you get another bounce off the lows, but you're still in that channel. No break of it yet. I just don't think you can risk going long there. And then we're just chopping sideways here. You can't go short into that support, and you don't want to go long either. You get a failed breakout. Again, you could argue for that to be green, but you need the high or low, and you just don't get one. It runs all the way up, comes back. You do get a high or low, but the signal bar is no good, and you're in that channel. Runs up. I don't see anything up there to go short on. And then suddenly it turns down, though. But there's just no entry here. First entry, first entry, first entry. Notice you get a close outside and new low, though. I like going long there. Again, you need to wait on the high or low to be sure, but maybe you want to be a little aggressive and you try to catch the low, and look what you would have caught. It's a good chance you get a runner there and you catch this big move up. So I like that one. It is green, though. There's actually a second entry here, but that's too sideways. It does take off all the same, but if you follow the rules, you can't go long there. Now prices are working down, close outside, tempted a new low that just confirms the trend line there, gives you a higher low and a second entry long. I like going long there. That's a really nice move up. Then you're working sideways. Now notice you do get a close outside here. You got a new high and you get a first entry, pull back, and there's a second entry long, but there's also at least a triple test there, a nice signal bar. I like going long there as long as you got room to scalp out before here. Because you see what happens, it runs up and turns back down again. Now, I didn't mark this one. It's a failed breakout, but now you have a new high in place, and the market could reverse. Now, it does appear there's a close outside and a new low all in one. I'd still wait on the higher low here, I think, and you just don't get one. Same thing up here. I'm going to wait on a lower high with a good signal bar. You don't get one. Now, here's a break lower. But again, I think I'm going to wait. And then you make a lower high here off of this. So it's really off the highs of the range too. So I like going short there. Couple of legs down, you get another failed breakout. This is tempting, but I just sit tight. And notice what happens. We turn out the trend line again. That's just a first entry short, though. There is a second entry here, but that's your signal bar, and it doesn't qualify. And then you get a third touch. Again, I didn't mark it, but you possibly could argue to go short there. You've come back and tested that 3 times in a row, and you can see it does take off. Then we're just working sideways again. And I don't see anything I like there. Nothing to go long here. Maybe you might think, hey, I want to go long right here on the failed breakout. And you could give it a green. But you're better off to wait on the high or low, which comes here, and it's too neutral. You can see it ran up and then turned right back down again. Lower high here, but not a tradable one. And I think we get an overshoot here. Look what happens when we overshoot that low. You get a first entry, and then it pulls back and it breaks higher again. When it goes back above there, that's a second entry, and you could just wait for that bar to close and go long one tick above it, or you could since this broke lower first, you could just put a buy stop one tick above that red bar and just let it feel you as it breaks above it. I'd be okay with that because that's a very bearish bar there. And off it goes. Again, if you catch this low, very nice move. And then there's two legs back here. There's actually a break right there, but I don't think you can take that. You're waiting for prices here to get back to the EMA, and then you get a second entry long off of it when you're expecting prices to make a new high. Comes back again, just first entry, and then lo and behold, we're just chopping sideways again. Notice that there's a leg down, close outside, move to a new low, and that's a second entry long. I think you got to go long there. There's a higher low there, go long again, and of course we just keep chopping on a sell-off off of this range here. And that would be a second entry short. It's another one. Hey, maybe I'll take that short right there. I'm not going to go long that close to the highs. And I don't see anything else I want to trade there. We do come back down and make a bottom. It's just a first entry. It gaps over, so I don't think you're going to get in there. I mean, it looks like a couple of ticks gap there. It ends up going lower on a second entry short here. And we did test that 3 times, so you may go short right there. I'm willing to give it a green. And then it breaks out here. Maybe you go long there on the breakout. Here's another chance here. Notice you made a new high, first entry, second entry. And there is a channel working up here. And so nice second entry long right there. And then it turns back down, turns back up. I don't see anything here I'd want to trade. Maybe a short here on a failed breakout. It'd have to be green, but it's a possibility. It comes back, and now we've got multiple tests of this low right here along the original support of the range, this range that we got this afternoon. So I like going long there. And again, it just takes off. You might consider closing, trading up here. It's not a convincing close outside. That's the problem with it. I think you could argue we're still inside the trend channel line, so probably should wait on a lower high. And we don't get a lower high. We do get a close outside, 2 legs up, and then it turns down, but it bounces real quick. So there is a triple test there. If you have enough room here, which it does appear you do, maybe you go long there. I'm willing to give it a green. That's about it. But there is a triple test across there. 1, 2, 3, and off it goes. Turns back down. Failed breakout. Comes back. Down again. Close outside new low. And then a bounce. This is all just kind of choppy right through here. I don't see anything I like. It's too mixed. It's hard to know what prices are doing here. Once we break lower and it continues to break lower, your guess is going to be that we're going short right here. But there's just no guarantee of that. There's nothing right there that says for sure we're going lower or higher. So I think you just have to ride this out, and then suddenly it bounces. Now notice we do come up. We get a close outside, bounce off that support line. So that's another one. Maybe you enter. Same thing. Close outside, move to a new high, and failed breakout the other side again. Maybe you enter there. You're better off to wait on a lower high, and that comes here. I didn't mark that, but we're still in that channel, so you could argue for that to be at least green. And so you get your 2 legs down, then you bounce. the problem here is there's no close outside yet, so I'm not crazy about going long there. We do test this upper side again. I like going short again. Uh, Again, you turn down off the highs of the range, so it's a possibility again. It's just a big bar. Of course, it runs down, failed breakout again. And on those failed breakouts, they can be important lows, and you can see that one was again. Maybe you take that again. You're better off to wait on the higher low, and you don't get one. It runs up, and now you got a triple test with a nice signal bar, lots of resistance across there. Close outside and a new high all in one. I like going short there. Boom, it falls back down, and then we're just chopping sideways again. I don't see anything again in here. It's too choppy and sideways. That's a possibility to go long, but I'd be wary of going long. We're in a downtrend, so suddenly, we get another test here and close lower. I like going short right there, just playing the range rules, and boom, off it goes and turns out, turns lower, gets a close outside, move to a new low, and it reverses up again. And there's actually a second entry short right here after the 2:30 hour. And if you were to draw this trend channel line, you can clearly see we get a close outside and move to a new high. Yeah, there it is. It might be tempting to go short there. I think it's a little too late, but I thought I'd go ahead and point it out to you. You're working up, close outside, move to a new high, and then it turns down. But it's after, by the time that bar closes, it's it's a couple of minutes into the 2:30 hour. So I mean, it's a possibility. Actually, they don't make matching highs, so you'd be, since it is off the support or resistance of a range, maybe you still enter it. I'm not even going to mark it. I didn't like it in real time, and I think it's too late in the day. But this is what's kind of hard to trade. Just kind of mixed, and there's, down here there's a lot of clear support, and there's fairly clear resistance. Not perfect by any means, but the big one was we at least had a clear lower side of the range at that point. So anyway, there it is. There's not much else we can say about this. This is almost 30 minutes long. So I'm going to wrap it up where I can get out of here. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.